What led you to the best pleasure of your life? This guy just fingered me right while stimulating my clit with his thumb. It was the strangest build-up. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was having a heart attack, and starting from my fingers and moving up my arm I was going numb. Then I came. I think I screamed. It made me cry and laugh hysterically. I had a cryorgasm. The night I asked my girlfriend to marry me and she said yes. I couldn't believe how hard I was. We fucked bareback on the couch and I came inside her in minutes, fast for me, so powerful and passionate like I couldn't believe. The intimacy and romance of it was kinkier than anything I'd ever felt. When I was younger I used to sleep with this girl regularly in the back of the car. One time she was on top and I felt everything from my thighs all the way up to my chest start to contract and release with my heartbeat, getting faster and faster until one point I was basically shaking. Weird part was, no ejaculation. It lasted maybe 30 to 45 seconds and was the most intense pleasurable moment I've ever felt in my life. Not sure what it was or how to have it happen again, but yeah, amazing. Having sex in a sauna where it was really hot but not so hot we might pass out. She was seated and we were both covered in a sheen of sweat, getting the rush of the heat and the raw agony of the situation. Just as I was about to climax, she reached over and dumped the jug of cool water down my back. The climax and shock combined into something I have never experienced again. It couldn't be recreated because it was the spontaneity and surprise that really made it work. I don't think there's only one that sticks out. The most intense ones left my entire body limp and buzzing like I had inhaled laughing gas at the dentist. It would feel like water was trickling through my feet and my teeth were buzzing. I can never speak after one of those. My uterus will almost get menstrual cramps afterwards. During it is like it will go on and on forever and all colors get brighter. My BF doesn't understand why I don't always want an orgasm during intimacy. Sometimes it's nicer and just as pleasurable to just have intimacy and feel the endorphins afterwards. Those are like a well-proportioned meal. It fills you up and keeps you full and content afterwards and you will feel hungry again the day after. Orgasms are like eating the every single dish at every single 5-star restaurant at once. You kinda need to recover for a bit after that. Back when my boyfriend and I still lived at home, I was spending the night at his house. We were in his room and things were heating up. He had me at the edge of his bed while he sat on a trunk at the end of his bed just slowly fingering me and eating me out for what felt like hours. Everything was slowly building up and I felt like I was in ecstasy. Finally, he looked up at me and said, "I'm gonna make you come now," and fully started eating me out while fingering me. That mixed with having to stay quiet because his family was in the other room was the most intense pleasure I've felt. I was still orgasming when he ducked me after LMAO. I had a one-night stand with this woman while she was on top. I told her that I was going to come and she then proceeded to say, "I'm not finished." She then began riding me even harder. Even after orgasming I was rock solid. She rode me for a good 5 more minutes until she came and collapsed on me. I literally had tingling in my lips and toes like I was gonna pass out because it felt like a continual orgasm that never stopped. XGF blew me and after I came she kept gently sucking. I had what I can only describe as multiple orgasms. I don't think I actually ejaculated anything but the sensation was the same but more powerful each time. I had to stop her because I was about to pass out. She had done that in the past and she did it after, but that one time was the only time that happened. It was the most pleasure I have ever felt. Back when I was in grade school I would shimmy up the bars to the top of the swing set while dangling my legs to either side until I would have an awesome feeling. I didn't realize what was happening till 15 to 20 years later, and I realized I wasn't just actively masturbating, I was also trying to teach my friends how to do it too. It's super ducked up, I know, but I don't think I've had a better orgasm since. Right before college I hadn't come in around 10 days due to a summer trip with friends sharing the same sleeping area. I got back to my place and instantly fell asleep, dead tired. When I woke up in the morning my hands, feet were warm and tingly. I sort of stretched out in bed like a cat and got a sudden, very extreme pang of pleasure from deep inside me. Instinctively I knew I was going to come. It was like that moment after passing the point of no return, but it just went on forever. It felt like minutes. Eventually my whole body was pulsing in rhythm with my heart and alternating between hot and cold. It felt much more like what a female orgasm is described as, with the slow build-up and afterglow. It was different than any orgasm I've had before or since, even different than a prostate orgasm. It was like when stretching I somehow accidentally activated the orgasm nerve. We both came while she was riding me. She slowed down for a few minutes to catch her breath but kept going, and I stayed hard. After about 2 minutes she picked up the pace a bit. I told her I already came. She said, I know, but you're still hard and it feels really good. I don't think I'll come again, but I'm gonna keep going. I just said, well, I'm not gonna stop you. I was super sensitive, almost ticklish, for the first couple of minutes, and then it felt really good, and after another 5 or so minutes I orgasmed again. Completely different feeling orgasm to the first. Pretty sure I didn't ejaculate, but was an intense full body wave of ecstasy that lasted what felt like 20 seconds. Never had that happen before or since. Definitely what I would call multiple orgasms. Twice in under 10 minutes. I jerked it off while the tip was in her mouth and her tongue was dancing circles. She was also touching herself and moaning. I miss human contact, Sard. About a month ago, my fiancé and I got into a huge fight and broke up. COVID stress and lockdown stress got to us and we both lost our cool. Then had really angry breakup sex, and it was the most passionate sex we'd ever had. We decided to work things out and stay together, and the make-up sex was 100 times better than the breakup sex. My ex, who never talked dirty, jumped up on the vanity and said, fuck me. So I fucked the shit out of her, and when I was getting in the short rows I said, I'm gonna come, to which she replied, fire away baby. That did it. I felt like I shot my balls out. Blowjob while she had this little prostate vibrator in my butt. It was like I had a stroke. I could hardly move the right side of my body and my vision went derpy. Was only able to lay there for a while. I imagine that's what heroin feels like. One time I was at my occasional boyfriend's house and we were making out. His son was fast asleep upstairs, so we didn't have sex, but he laid me on the floor and went down on me and gave me one of the strongest and most intense orgasms of my entire life. I am not exaggerating at all. I've been having sex since I was 16 and I'm 40 now. I think about it all the time. I was in a super toxic relationship with a chick. It was out of control, I was always wrong, had a lot of sexual tension with this girl for a while. Finally we hooked up and had great sex. I finished once and we kept on going. Just got better and better. Until boom, finished again. Anyway, I blacked out and came to about 20 seconds later, pissing blood out of both nostrils. She was panicking, thinking she'd literally shagged me to death. After I told her I was okay and we'd got some tissues, she said it was actually kinda hot, said she'd never physically fucked a guy's brains out before, he never apologized ever, and we both had drinking problems. One night she came home drunk while I was at home with strep throat. She woke me up and started yelling at me the whole horrible, toxic, emotionally painful cycle of bullshit. The next morning I woke up and told her I was done with her. She started crying, then we had sex. While we were having sex she said, I want you to know I'm really sorry about last night. Then she started screaming, I'm sorry, over and over while she orgasmed. And then while she was screaming I'm sorry, I had the most unreal orgasm. I came so hard and thought I wasn't going to stop. I shot my load over her entire body and onto the wall. I was so proud and happy. We definitely didn't break up after that. We definitely still had a toxic relationship. It ended explosively 6 months later. Had a lot of sexual tension with this girl for a while. Finally we hooked up and had great sex. I finished once and we kept on going. Just got better and better. Until boom, finished again. Anyway, I blacked out and came to about 20 seconds later, pissing blood out of both nostrils. She was panicking, thinking she'd literally shagged me to death. After I told her I was okay and we'd got some tissues, she said it was actually kinda hot, said she'd never physically fucked a guy's brains out before. I was on my first date with my dream girl. We went to see The Mummy, Brendan Fraser, and sat up in the corner. When we sat down and pulled the middle armrest up, she pulled a blanket out of her purse and covered it, grabbed my hand and put it right on her special place, where I discovered she had hiked up her skirt. After she finished she thanked me, kissed me deeply a few times while gently working her hand into my pants. Needless to say, about the time Imhotep was fully powered up I had a mind-blowing orgasm. But she didn't stop. She whispered in my ear, I can feel you throbbing, and squeezed gently. I went again. I didn't know it was possible. I really miss her. I wish teenage me wasn't such a jealous and no self-esteem asshole. I climaxed from a 30-minute blowjob literally perfectly synced with the climax for the season 3 finale of River Monsters. I swear I climaxed for a solid minute straight. It was awesome. I opened my eyes and Jeremy Wade was doing his calm recap of the episode and what we'd learned. It was more calming than any cigarette ever could be. 10 out of 10. Me and my ex-GF were having sex in her car at the park. So damn risky I could see through the windshield two dads playing frisbee with their kids, the whole car fogged up, and had people walk right by the car. Didn't give a fuck though. Anyway, I busted so hard I was actually high after. I read on the internet that can be caused by all the hormones in your brain mixing or something. I recently discovered clit suckers. Best orgasm of my life. It was the first time I'd ever squirted, that I know of, and I absolutely drenched my bed. I was just playing around for a while and I put the toy on, it worked up an orgasm and I came, but I kept the toy there, it just kept buzzing and I was coming back to back. I'd never made such noises in my life, like I was possessed. The feeling of the warm juice flowing from me as I come, the noise of it splashing, the feeling of coming so hard my pussy explode was just crazy. It's the only way I come like this. But the first time was eye-opening. My whole body was exhausted like I've just ran or swam a marathon. I barely had it in me to change my sheets. I've had a few more like that since, but you never forget that first. My husband is just really amazing in bed. I never enjoyed sex until him. Some of that I think is because I'd never experienced real intimacy before, but he also just really makes it happen. The first time we ever hooked up, he gave me oral until I came, which took forever. He's a champ, but he held my legs and kept going. The amount of desire I had for him combined with what he did just made me crazy. And multiple orgasms. I honestly thought women just lied about that or it was a porn thing. Turns out it's definitely real and it's a regularity for me now. I feel pretty stoked that I got to marry the person who also has given me the best sex of my life. Not a bad setup. My then fiancée, now wife, was on top. Went from gentle riding to bouncing, then to me pounding her out from my underneath position. I could feel her coming with each stroke and then I just had to come too. Pulled out and busted all over myself, she was keeled over from coming hard and I felt like I just released everything. My balls were literally tingling and my dick stayed hard. When she saw how much I came she got turned on again, sucked my cock and rode me again. The second time wasn't as amazing for me but she still came and it was still hot. My best orgasm came from a 5 feet 4 inches half Asian MMA dude. I'd always been too nervous to let guys keep fingering me because I wasn't sure what would happen, but for whatever reason, I just let him keep going. It took forever and it was a really weird feeling getting there, but god damn when I did. I lost all control of my muscles, learned that I squirt, and I'm pretty sure I saw Jesus. I've never had a G-spot orgasm before or since, so I was pretty bummed when he stopped texting back. X was fighting with me all day long. Just non-stop bickering between us. By the end of the day you could cut then tension with a knife. We were getting ready to have another argument and instead he throws me on the couch, rips down my shorts and starts eating my pussy like his life depended on it. To this day I've never had an orgasm like that and it was also the first time I ever squirted as well. I've tried to recreate what made it so good but I genuinely think his arguing all day played a big part for some reason. My most intense orgasm from masturbation came the day I discovered two things. Playing with my own nipples was a huge plus, and using a light grip, virtually just fingertips, around the head of my dick to finish, only works if I'm extra hard and horny. The two together gave me a cum that beat out most intercourse orgasms I've had. The time a girl started sucking my nips while we were both coming confirmed it for me. Nipple play basically doubles my coming strength. My boyfriend was fucking me while holding a vibrator against my clit and when I came it was like a weird spiritual experience. Everything went white and suddenly I was looking down on myself when I did my solo trip to Paris 4 years ago, and young me was looking out the stained glass mirrors in a church and I just had this overwhelming feeling of freedom and peace. According to my boyfriend it looked like my eyes totally glazed over and wasn't there. When I came back down from wherever I was I just started intensely crying and then eventually fell asleep. We've tried but haven't been able to replicate an orgasm quite like that. Back in college, sophomore year I think, I had a huge stats final. I was barely passing so I really needed to do well. I spent 2 days cramming and was a ball of stress. When test time finally came, so did I just before turning it in. Like right after I filled in the last bubble. I had the most intense orgasm I've ever had, by far. It was such a huge release of stress and tension that I guess my body just went into full decompression mode. I let out a very audible groan, but thankfully everyone was too invested in the exam to notice. I took a moment to collect myself, and when I finally rebooted, I realized I had a huge wet spot on my khakis. Luckily it was the winter semester, so I bunched up my jacket and held it over my crotch as I quickly shuffled my way back to my apartment. Ever since then, during moments of extreme stress, I occasionally have these stressgasms, as I call them, but never as intense. I always wear dark pants to interviews, haha. Brazilian hooker didn't let me get out after finishing, with condom, held me inside and kept fucking me until I was hard again, and we went on round 2 without leaving contact in between. She was such a cool girl, we couldn't understand each other, but we talked about music and I escorted her back to the club a few blocks away and we held hands the whole time. This December 1st was the end of my first successful no-nut November. I called it my holiday because I made a couple hours in the morning my time to do some last-minute edging before finally finishing. I never even had any nocturnal emissions the whole month, so I had some pain in my balls during those couple hours. When I finally finished though, my legs spazzed like they never have before and my whole body stretched out. My vision slightly blurred and my head felt so clear it actually gave me a tiny headache. I don't know if I will ever do No Nut November again, but that day almost made the half month of torture worth it. Almost. I was 22 and never had an orgasm before. I didn't masturbate and didn't really know how to direct my, now ex-boyfriend, even though we'd been having sex for like 2 years at that point. We had recently started using a vibrator during sex, but I hadn't quite gotten it right. He had me handcuffed to the bedpost and was using the vibrator on me while having sex with me, and it just started hitting me in the exact right spot. The pressure started building and building, and I honestly didn't even know sex was supposed to feel like that. I had never even started building to an orgasm before, so it was brand new to me. I thought I was going to have an orgasm and then I squirted pee everywhere. All over him. He was disgusted and started to pull away from me. Can't say I blame him, but I was really close and screamed at him to keep going, and about 10 seconds later I had the most intense orgasm of my life. Nothing has come close since then. I was too weak to clean up the piss-soaked bed, so I just kind of laid on the floor while he took a shower and then stripped the bed.